Hello, and welcome to Holistic Emails, Email and More, a Q&A with. I'm your host, Skip Federa, and for those who are new to the show, first off, where have you been? This is season 3, but if you're new, that's okay. On every episode, we showcase a different topic with a different panel of experts, and today we're talking about the art and science of personalization in email and AI. Now, if you've been with us before, you know that this is your show. We bring together the experts, but it is your questions that really drive the conversation forward. It's unscripted, it's unrehearsed, and it's a whole lot of fun. So we have a great show lined up for you today. Let me just share some slides with you. There we go. So as I said, we've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about why personalization is important, how to get started on your personalization journey, and how to avoid the typical pitfalls. And we're going to finish with a conversation about AI. Do you have to have it? And will it replace us as marketers? That last bit I'm really quite curious about. Now, before we go any further, I need to thank our sponsors. Without our sponsors, we couldn't bring any of this content to you. And this series is brought to you by our gold sponsors, Iterable and OnGage, and our silver sponsors, RPE Origin and Actito. Again, thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for everything you do to make this series possible. Now, as I said, this is series 3. If you want to go back and catch up on any of the episodes, some of them brilliant, I might add, all of them brilliant, I should say, from series 1 or 2, or you haven't seen the first 2 episodes of series 3 so far, all episodes are available on Holistic Email's site, and we'll put a link to that in the chat. Now, we have an absolutely brilliant panel lined up for you today. With me, as always, is best-selling author and award-winning thought leader, Kath Pei. And with her is Andrea Amboyer, both from Holistic Email Marketing. We've got Faithful Adia, Senior Marketing Automation Manager at HelloFresh. And we sort of have Jess Evans-Tudor. I say sort of have. Jess is having a little technical issue. So right now we've only got her voice and can't see her face, but that's okay. The content comes out of the voice, so that's not going to be a problem. And last but not least, we have Alice Ribden, Strategic Enterprise Customer Success Manager at Iterable. Now, like I said, this is your program. This is your show, and we need your help. So we need you to start putting some questions into that Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Okay. Now, we've all heard it. Email marketing is about getting the right message to the right person at the right time and in the right context. And it's the biggest cliche in marketing, but that doesn't make it any less true. Now, the right message is obviously all about the content. The right person is your segmentation. The right time is when they're in the right headspace to listen to the message and have the time to act on it the way you want them to act. And the context of the message combines the format to the channel to make it easy for the reader to digest the information and, again, to take the action you want. Now, you may be thinking that today we're only going to be talking about the message, but personalization really crosses all 4. Let me give you an example. Those of you who know me know that I'm super into cycling, and I am more than happy to talk about training techniques and the pros and cons of disc brakes versus caliper brakes, or how my FTP has changed, or what I'm working on in my current training block. And when I come back from a ride, my wife will ask me how it went. And telling her how long I spent in each heart rate zone is not the wrong message. My coach cares about that, but my wife doesn't. It's the right message. It's to the wrong person. Now, if she's on the phone when I come in, then saying anything would be wrong, unless I'm bleeding, which has happened, but she's clearly busy, so interrupting would be the wrong time. Finally, there's context. When I'm out on the bike, she knows not to call me unless it's like super important. And even then, if she calls me, I have to stop. I have to dig out my phone. I might not stop in a place that's safe, all those kinds of things. But if she texts me, that comes up on my bike computer. All she has to text is emergency or SOS or whatever, and I can pull over at a safe spot, grab the phone, call her straight back. That's all about context. She's delivered the message in a context that makes it easy for me to respond and in a way that is the fastest way for her to get the answer she needs. My point is this. Too often, I think marketers fall into a trap of thinking that personalization is all about content or what we're putting in the email. And I hope coming out today, one of the things you'll take away is that it's so much more. Now, I want to get to the panel. We've already got some questions coming in, so thank you very much. Again, if you have a question, that's over there on the right. One of our panelists, Andrea, has already put in a question. My co-host, Adiola, has also already put in a question. Thanks, Adiola. Appreciate that. So, but my first question is going to be for Jess and then Faithful. I was talking about how we get so hung up on content. Does including a recipient's name, first name, does that count as personalization? Jess, over to you. Okay, Jess. Jess is on mute. So Jess, try unmuting.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Hey,
okay,
perfect.
So yay.
So personalize is adding someone's name classed as personalization. On paper, yes, but with all of the data points and everything we have to hand, I think it's the bare minimum that we should be doing. It's quite like we know we see an increase in engagement when you put out somebody's name and you make the communications feel more relevant to them. But I definitely I wouldn't class that as personalization anymore with where we are in kind of the data world and the information we have to hand about our consumers.
Okay, Faithful, what about you? Do you agree with that?
Sort of. So I would echo what Jess said as to, yes, personalization on the name is like the bare minimum. So it's like ground level zero for anyone who is getting into personalization. But I would also say that it's not a bad place to start from, right? Because as email and CRM people, we have the concept of, we know that we have little resources, so we have less people, but a lot of things to do, right? And for some people, that could be the first example to show that, okay, yes, we started doing some sort of personalization, we sort of see some impact, and maybe we allocate more resources, whether it's in terms of technology or it's in terms of people, to sort of explore this path further, right? So I think, yes, it's the bare minimum of personalization. Yes, it is personalization, and we could do more. But for some people, it could be the first step, right? Yeah.
That's a great point.
Or if you can still hear me, I completely agree with you as well. But I think in regards to when I think, and again, that's similar to what you're saying, it could depend on the technology I have to hand and the resource that is behind my team. But I would say if somebody said to me, I've put someone's name in the intro of the email copy, I've done personalization, I'd say, have you? But again, I guess it depends on kind of where you're ranking of things for that side. But I completely agree. It's definitely a good place doing it. You will definitely see the impact of putting that in.
Yeah, and do you know what?
It's like that old sales tech. Oh, sorry, Kath. I was just gonna say it's like that old sales technique where salespeople are told to use the prospect's name in every other sentence. You know, and after a while, it just gets a little bit. Ew.
Do you know when I really do focus on the first name when I'm talking about testing for personalization and everything? It's actually omitting it. So if you're doing something like that, where you are being incredibly personalized, and often this is an approach that's been used and tested. Amazon have tested it. A brand that I've worked with, Screwfix, they also tested it, right? So what you do is that because you are being so personalized in your, say, a browser abandonment, which is kind of could be on a creepy side depending on how well you implement it, you could test not having the first name in, and that's actually when you can see that there is a difference. So on that basis, personalization does work using first name, and you could therefore call it personalization. But I am in agreement with both Jess and Faithful about saying it's the most basic form, but it still is an interesting concept to sort of go, okay, try testing removing it if that's the case too, depending on how much, because it's just because it's you can, there is that point, which probably we're going to come to, in another question, but there is that point where you can actually have too much personalization.
That's just it. That you cross into creepy. If I'm using browse abandonment and first name, that's a lot creepier than just using browse abandonment, right? Because you've added the first name. I think Laura has hit a great point as well. It really depends on how much data you've collected as well. If you don't have first name, then you can't use it. So that's a completely, something to think about. The first step of your personalization journey started years ago when you started your email program. So Alice and Andrea, Alice, we'll start with you. When you both start talking to clients about personalization, where do you start the conversation?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think when you're really sort of taking that first step in personalization, you should really want to understand the data points that you're collecting for your customers, your prospects across all of the different data sources and marketing tools. So this could be things like, behaviors on your website, app behaviors, demographics, things like first name, preferences, purchase data. So collecting all of that data together, and then understanding which of those data points you want to use when segmenting your campaigns, in your general user segmentation, and also kind of life cycle mapping exercises of your customer journey. So I think the first step is always going to be kind of auditing what data points you're collecting of your users, and then sort of building out your personalization from that point onwards.
Yeah, very good point. Andrew?
Well, I was going to say too, like sometimes when you talk to clients who are new to personalization, they just want to do something. And in that case, that is a case where first name, just to put their toe in the water, does work. But I do like to talk about, like, what are your goals with this message? Why do you want to bring in personalization? Are you trying to provide product recommendations? Are you trying, like, because that sort of informs what data we'd like to have, and seeing, do we actually have that data? But I do find that sometimes new clients are excited to personalize, but they're just excited to personalize. They're not thinking about the longer goal.
And I'm going to get to Kath in a second to talk about why personalization is important. But this question is kind of like for everybody else. Starting with first name, I think I think everybody has hit this point really well. That's a great place to start. You probably have that data, and it's a relatively easy, straightforward thing to do. But it can go wrong, right? Like, what if somebody's giving you a fake name, or what if someone's just giving you their initials? Let's start with Andrea. Let's go back to you. What do you recommend to clients when they start to look at their first name data and they're like, "Oh, that's kind of rubbish"?
I think then it's the conversation, or what other things do you have in terms of click data, browsing data, for example? And then it's the idea that personalization isn't just kind of the low-hanging fruit that we think of as personalization, but actually crafting, and I am going into content at this point, but crafting the content so it feels more relevant to them. So just expanding the idea of what personalization actually is.
Yeah,
I had a
so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I had a client once that we started doing just first name personalization. It was a classic story, and they had some really quite ropey first name data, and the marketing director was like, "It is wrong of us to assume that is not accurate. That's what they gave us. We didn't make it up. That's what the customer gave us. They can't be mad if then we use it." We did take out the rude ones, but because that would just end up on social media and be a nightmare. But I thought it was an interesting and quite gutsy approach. And the other interesting side benefit to that was people started to clean it up because they were like, "Oh, you paid attention to that."
Yeah, it's a really great point, Skip, and something that you are also able to do in some platforms is create some logic within your campaigns that will say, if first name has been entered all in capital letters, make sure that it's sort of the mixture between the uppercase and the lowercase. So you are able to, with some technology, sort of create that logic to ensure that the first name is pulled through into the templates in the way that you want to. And then in addition to this, let's say, for example, you don't have the first name collected for a user profile. You could also have a default sort of backup value. So that could be a friend, for example, depending on how you want to speak to your customers. So that's also something that you could think about as well.
Right. And you can also do a lot of that validation at the form collection as well. So,
yes,
there's a friend, well, I wouldn't say they're a friend. They're a connection of mine on LinkedIn. Their name is Lewis Hamilton. They're not even able to drive, much less drive a Formula One car, but that's their name. So you can't say that all names are like that of, say, famous people are fake. But you can prompt somebody to say, are you sure? Is that really your name? That's a different topic for a different time. Kath, let's talk about why is personalization important?
Okay, so that is a really great question. And one of the things I think that we need to get our heads around is actually just defining that. So if you think about it, most of us are exactly what Andrea was saying, was kind of like we're wanting to use personalization for the sake of using personalization. We're wanting to personalize. And at the end of the day, we have to define what the objective for personalizing is. And the bottom line is, right, I've done lots and lots of thought about this, is the objective is actually to enhance the customer experience. And therefore, personalization is actually one of the strategies or tactics, or both, that you achieve to actually enable you to achieve your objective. Often we put our objective as being to personalize, but I don't think that it is, because then you're left with not enough tactics and strategies underneath. So basically, if we can start to understand that the reason why we want to personalize is actually to enhance the customer journey, to enhance their customer experience, then suddenly we're looking at personalization in a totally different light. Yes, that doesn't mean that we can't be looking at the tactics and identifying which ones to be using and everything, but we're going to be implementing it differently for different reasons. And then also that then is going to have a knock-on effect as to what metrics we're going to be using, what we're going to be testing, how we're going to be testing it, and all the rest of it. So
the CEO doesn't care that we personalize our emails. The CEO cares we make more money.
Yes. Yeah.
And that brings us to an interesting point. So MoveLink sponsored a survey they released. Well, I saw it just this past week. I don't know when they actually released it. But in the survey, 61% of consumers, and this is Western markets, say they are likely to buy when a company creates personalized experiences, and 68% say they'll be loyal to companies that create personalized experiences. So it sounds like the business case stacks up, that more people will spend more money with you, even though to do personalization requires more data processing, potentially more technology, more moving parts to manage, a much more complicated QA process before you send the campaign. So it's not just a push. Actually, one of the questions coming up for Alice is, if there was a magic button, what would the magic button do? Or what, and there is no magic button, right? So, but it sounds like the business case is there.
Do you know what? I will jump straight to answer that very last question that you want to talk about with the AI, right? Because that is verging onto this question here. And basically, yes, there is a lot more work for us to be doing, because we are doing more sophisticated marketing. We are doing either more advanced segmentation, or we are using an AI engine, or we're using dynamic content. We're going to be doing more sophisticated testing to make sure that we're actually identifying that the personalization tactics that we're using are actually working and all the rest of it. So yes, it doesn't come for free, right? So there is a cost generally associated with the tech. There's also a cost associated with the resource and the time and everything. And this therefore shows, I think, that even if we do involve AI, we as marketers still have a very strong role to be putting into here, to be inputting, to be the strategist, to be actually informing, we're the ones that understand, and we can write the rules and we can inform the rules and everything. I mean, I've implemented quite a few AI engines with some of my clients. And, the good ones that you can do are those ones that you can actually be customizing to actually be meeting your business objectives. So you can be weighting certain things against others and so on, and that needs a marketer behind it, right? Someone who knows the business, who knows their products, who knows their customers. And so, I think, just to cut to the chase, I think that it's really, really important that we're still going to be here, and we need to ensure that we're not just leaving everything up to AI, because often that's just a black box.
Okay, so that's that box ticked. That's that box ticked. ticked. We all will have jobs. So I want to throw in a question from the audience, and this is for anybody, but it kind of follows on with what Kath was just talking about. And I love how this person starts the question. Naive question, perhaps. This question's from Matthew Dunn, who has a PhD in digital marketing. So I don't think Matthew can ask a naive question, but it's a good one. Is there an accepted definition or model of personalization? Is it a psychological construct? Is it a media content construct or a data thing? And he likens it to the proverb of the blind people describing an elephant, right? And I think that hits the nail on the head. Is, like so many things in marketing, personalization can mean so many things to so many people. Whereas one company says, we've put in first name, that's our personalization done and dusted. Somebody else is going to be actually not changing their content at all, but very specifically dropping a piece of content to a person at the right time, however they define the right time. And that's much more of a data marketing automation kind of approach. I think the answer is no, but I'm happy for you guys, one of you all, to tell me I'm wrong, that there is an accepted definition of or model for personalization.
Again, I'm going to be really, really quick, because I taught, to my knowledge, the first course on personalization way back when. And I used to call it basically the wild, wild west back then. Okay. And it hasn't changed. And I don't think that there is an accepted terminology or a definition of personalization. And that actually reflects itself in all of the personalization engines, how they're constructed, what they do, or their outputs, everything. They're all so different. It's not like, we have a very accepted what idea of what an ESP does and what it should do and what it looked like and what kind of features it has. Personalization engines, that's not accepted. They're all quite different. So at this point in time, I don't think so. And particularly if you were then to take my definition or my objective for using personalization is actually to enhance the customer experience, then that kind of that's really soft, isn't it? It's really fuzzy and everything.
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy.
So no, I don't think there is.
And Kath, I'm showing my age, but thanks for planting that earworm in my head. I've now got Will Smith's The Wild Wild West just running around in there. Okay, so let's bring this back down to something a bit more ground level. Faithful and Jess, you're the two brand representatives here on the panel. What are your respective personalization journeys been like? I really wish we'd picked a different topic, Kath. Personalization is not rolling off my tongue today. But Faithful, let's start with you. What's your personalization journey been like?
Yeah, so I mean, talking through this, I'm just going to touch on a lot of the different things that we've already talked about. So Kath, Andrea, Alice, everyone, right? And essentially, it's when you want to start with personalization, or at least when I started, right? It's coming from a place of, okay, we want to make the customer experience better, right? But also, I think sometimes it also has to be a bit more granular than that, right? Because customer experience definition could mean a lot of things, right? How do we improve customer experience could mean a lot of things, right? So how do we improve customer experience via email? At least it could be like the first step, right? And say, okay, maybe it touches on different things, right? Skip, you've talked about how it's the right content at the right time to the right user. You know, so there are different elements. There's the content, there's the segment, the users, and there's the channel, right? So, where are we going to send this message via? And in my journey through personalization, right? It's been like, okay, maybe we focus on one part, which is, for instance, the content part, right? And say, okay, how do we make the content or the messaging more personalized to the users, right? And then we take it to the next step as to, okay, in regards to the segment, how do we ensure that we're speaking to the right people with the right message, right? And sometimes you also want to think about how do you get this data in, because from my perspective, data is like the foundation to good personalization, right? So if you don't have the right data, you don't have the right information, there's pretty much nothing you can do on a personalized basis, right? We're talking about first name and how that's like the ground zero, because that's information that ideally most companies have. But when talking about, okay, taking it a step further, then data is like the main starting point, right? And then you talk about how do you get this data in, right? So how do you use this data? Is this data readily available to you or not, right? And essentially, if it takes let's say it takes a week, or you need to wait for BI to be able to give you that data for you to be able to action on your campaigns, right? That's probably going to limit what you can do on the personalization point of view. But in order to sum up my journey, right, it's essentially been trying to figure out how could we speed up the process in terms of getting what we need in order to meet our objectives, right? So for instance, I want to personalize the customer experience via email, right? What are the data points that I would like to display in this email, and how can we get this data, and how can we reference this in the email as an example, right? And this is essentially what's been my experience.
Oh, took me a second to get to the mute button. I like that, the notion of getting all the data and moving it all around. That's typically a lot harder than a lot of people give it credit for. So that's a really good point, Faithful. Jess, hopefully you're still with us. What's your journey been like? I hear from Kath that you've got a great little mini case study on personalization.
Yep, you can hear me. Okay, cool. So I think, I was catching up with Kath, and we were just talking about one of the new projects that we recently launched at Rated People. And for anyone who doesn't know, Rated People is a marketplace, so it means we have to kind of factor in both the B2C side and B2B. So we need to make sure that we're keeping our tradespeople happy by getting getting loads of jobs posted on our site by homeowners. And so in the current climate, I'm sure everyone knows, tradespeople are very high in demand. And so the problem is, okay, we've got all of these tradespeople on our platform, all of these homeowners posting jobs, but we're not getting the right types of jobs in. And when I say that, it means the tradespeople that needed the work, we weren't getting those jobs posted on our site. And so that was the problem. How can we almost tell people to post jobs that they may not have been thinking about posting, in order to really keep both sides of our marketplace happy? And so to it, touching back on what Kath said not too long ago, personalization is unique for every business. And so kind of what my objective and the personalization that was going to be required from my team at this point could be very different to some of the things that I've had to work towards doing in previous roles. And so with this campaign, we needed to almost be able to communicate to our homeowners and say, can you in London, for instance, we need more plumbers, but in Scotland we need more heating engineers. And so it's how do you create a campaign that has so many moving parts to it, and it's looking at, okay, in this area where we know we've got X amount of tradespeople ready to go, but we've not got this amount of jobs. And so it's personalization to a different extent. It's kind of taking it away from your standard, okay, how do we put like their first name in and stuff, but more so how do we also get the consumer to do what we need them to do when you've got a slightly different business model, which was a very fun project to work on. This was a campaign that we previously used to manually build, and it was like batch and blast. So everybody, our full 2.5 million homeowners, were getting the same campaign, and it just wasn't working. The market is so much more competitive. Our competitors are like on us like crazy, and so we needed to come up with something a lot smarter with a lot more moving parts, and that would trigger the right type of homeowners to post jobs. We launched this campaign back end of May, and the first week we launched it, we saw an increase of an uplift in 25% more jobs posted on the site during that time, and they were the right type of jobs. So it kind of had that trickle on impact from that side. So that's kind of just one campaign that we've worked on recently, and it is taking it from that angle of, okay, what's the problem? How can we use the data we have available and manipulate it into the ways that we can? And the reason why this project was also so important is we know that if a homeowner posts a job and a tradesperson buys it, that homeowner is then more likely to then post another job because they've had a good experience. But if we're getting all these extra jobs posted on our site, the tradespeople are not there to kind of do the work, you've upset a tradesperson, and you've also lost that homeowner. And so it's kind of how do you fulfill that journey end to end by keeping both sides of like the marketplace happy. So yeah, that's like my most recent, very proud journey that my team have launched. And
that sounds really cool.
It's also awesome because it's automated as well. So now that means somebody used to kind of have to go out and pick some trades and do a batch and blast send, and it's like now I've freed up someone's time and we can do even more awesome stuff like this. So yeah, pretty cool from my guys.
And
it's a really interesting. Go ahead,
I was just going to say, I absolutely love the fact that you came at it from the right place. So you came at it from, you had a business need. And that's, one of the best places to come at from how to use data. And I also love that you said you manipulated the data, because it's like, okay, we've got these points, but how can we best use this? So, that's very intelligent use of personalization to achieve an objective.
Well, and that goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago, Kath, and maybe Matt gets back into Matthew's question, which is, setting a KPI of we're going to use personalization doesn't move your business forward, but saying that is one of the tools that we can use to solve a business problem does actually move your business forward. So I mentioned that Adiola, who's my co-host for this series, put a question in. So it'd be really rude of me not to get to her question because she got to mine last time. So building off of the example that Jess just gave, which is a slightly different variation of, product recommendations within email. What are some of the other things that we can be doing with personalization? Just shout them out. Like, we don't have to be all that organized for this bit. Go ahead, Andrea.
Well, I actually was reading an article last night, just kind of prepping a little bit for this. And it was interesting that somebody talked about the idea of personalization as not creating a more personalized feel in terms of content, but making the interactions with the business feel more personalized. The idea was emails that felt like they were coming from a real person at the company, even though they weren't, and making it really easy to utilize live chat, for example. So it wasn't based, it was tied to the user behavior, but the actual vehicle for it was just making the interaction feel more friendly and making it easier to get in touch through using email to push someone into another channel that was actually easier for them to get the answer they needed. But I just thought that was really interesting because it was actually creating a persona on the company side, making it feel like you're getting information from Bob, an actual person, versus info at whatever company it was.
Yeah, there was a I worked with a large retailer here in the UK, who I can't name, but they took that approach with a lot of their customer service emails. Unfortunately, they used the customer service director's name and personal details, and then when she resigned, they wanted to keep using them, and had to pay her off. Basically,
Right.
she was like, "You can use my name if you want, but it's you're going to have to license it essentially."
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. I was like, "Well, just send out a note saying there's a great excuse to talk to all your customers. We've got a new customer service director." But anyway, I lost that argument.
I don't know if anyone noticed as well, like recently LinkedIn changed the subject lines they use when somebody requests to join, like to connect with you. So rather than it being like someone's trying to connect, it was like Andrea's trying to connect with you. And I like started to get loads of these through from like different people. And again, it's a perfect example of using first name, but it was on the reverse. And so it was kind of pulling in the person who was talking, trying to connect with you. And I think if you can like stand out, a bit different, but yeah, it popped to mind when you said that.
One thing I saw recently, sorry, Andrea, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say LinkedIn. I still remember years ago when LinkedIn did like a really personalized email where you got to see pictures of all your connections. And that like blew me away. And it's something like, just as an example that was like bigger than anything I'd ever seen before. Cause I was like, that's me, that's my friend, that's my brother. Like it was so exciting at the time. Kind of dating myself a little bit.
I was gonna say, you may need to get out more.
So I guess sort of talking about, or going into what Andrew was talking about, it's almost like you're personalizing without actually personalizing. So there was a great example of it from Really Good Emails. So Jonathan he had his birthday and he got an email from Really Good Emails. And they said, "Hey, Jonathan, it's your birthday," and everything like that. "We wanted to make this special for you, blah, blah, blah." So we went and got a whole heap of, the other email geeks who are, on our database to actually write something, a nice message to you. And that was about, I don't know, 40 messages or something like this. And it really came across as though, wow, like Jonathan and I were talking, did they actually do this? No, they didn't do this. This is just a standard email, but how it's written, it really comes across as that kind of that individual approach, that real, we've done this just for you, but in reality, it's not. So that's tone of voice, that's copy, it's the one-to-one type, customer-centric angle. So that's another way of doing it, that you can be achieving personalization without actually using personalization, and certainly not using recommendations. But it wouldn't work for everyone, and it's a bit of an out of the box solution.
That is definitely out of the box thinking. But it's quite clever, because if it makes you stop and think and say, "Did they really do this? Hang on, did they do this?" That's what that's gold right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we talked about what you can do with personalization. We walked through some personalization journeys. Andrea, Kath, Alice, happy for you to chip in as well. I'm not going to throw the brand marketers under the bus because I don't want to put them in an awkward position. But let's talk about fails. Let's talk about personalization fails that you've either been part of or you've seen. Please, no brand names. Let's protect the innocent or protect the guilty. But there must be some classic personalization. I mean, we've all seen when you forget to take out the placeholder and something slightly inappropriate or very inappropriate goes out. But what other fails are there?
Okay, so I'll be real quick with this. I've actually just done a whole presentation on things that we do wrong when we personalize. And one of the big ones for me was, we were doing an audit of this new client, and they came to us with a business challenge. And that challenge was, our traffic has dropped, right? So it's just not driving the traffic, and therefore we're not getting the conversions and all the rest of it. Can you have a look? So we're looking at everything, and then we started identifying there was something really interesting. And then it turns out that what they were doing is they were actually doing what a lot of people regard as being best practice, and only for deliverability purpose, only messaging those people who are recently active with them. Okay. And then they also had some automations in place for the win backs. But the middle, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 6 months or something, were totally neglected. And so unless these people had literally come of their own motivation to the website, made themselves active, raised up their hands type thing, and it got included, they were being neglected totally. So you could say that over personalization, no, I can't do it. Over personalization. So over segmenting, I tried to blend the two together. Over segmenting actually caused them to have a massive revenue problem because they were ignoring everyone else. Now, I'm not to say that you shouldn't do advanced, lovely, wonderful segmentation, but just understand that not everyone is going to fit into all of your criteria. So you have to have that catch-all campaign that's going to go to everyone. Just have that as being part of your strategy.
Absolutely. Most people look at segmentation as a reductive process. I've got my whole and I'm going to pull out groups out of my whole. And what you end up with is bits left over that you will get ignored. So yeah. But it's interesting that manifested itself as our traffic has dropped. Well, yes, because you're ignoring a large part of your population. Right. Any other fails?
Clean up your product feeds. Check those every so often.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing. And I think too, the team that's setting up the emails isn't necessarily talking to the team that's managing the back end and maybe deactivating products or just putting something in parentheses that says no longer live, for example. So just check those every so often.
Yeah. And don't push me a product that is sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. That's just annoys me. Alice, do you have a good one? You're giggling a lot, so I'm sitting there thinking you've got a really good one.
Yeah. I think where possible, use a reusable content block. So if you do need to go in and make an update, things like an address or things like that, maybe use reusable content blocks. You then don't have to go into tons of different campaigns to manually update, because that's definitely where you could see fails happening if you need to, go in and update thousands of campaigns rather than just needing to go in and make it as automated as possible.
Yeah. I think those are all good ones. I've got a slightly different one. Marketers love to know why. We love to ask why. And sometimes you just have to park the why. I did a personalization campaign. And for those of you who are thinking, oh, personalization, this is a new technique or a hot new trendy thing. So this was a campaign I worked on in 2000. And what we were doing was inserting wine offers into an email based on what wine is, what wine people have bought and what wine people they said they liked and whatever. And the marketers used to be like, but why does this person want this really expensive bottle of red in July? They only ever buy cheap whites. Now, the list was very small, so they could actually get into that level of detail. But it was, they spent so much time sort of trying to figure out the whys and the wherefores of how it was working. They weren't actually focusing on optimizing, making it better, and whatever. So we are getting loads of questions in on the Q&A. I'm going to scroll through and find some good ones. While I do that, Alice, going back to the magic button, there is no magic button to create personalized experiences. But if a checklist did exist, what kind of things would you expect to see on it?
It's a really great question. I mean, as we all know, and the reason why we're here today, personalizing your marketing strategy has become a necessity because customers are no longer okay with the one-size-fits-all communications. So, these days we now have the power to collect massive amounts of data and create in-depth customer profiles for each individual user. But personalizing your marketing strategy isn't as easy as flipping a switch. It requires the right combination of data and tools. There's no big red personalized button you can push to suddenly create individualized customer experiences. But there's definitely some good starting points. So I would say the first one is around data unification. So centralizing, as something I touched on earlier, centralizing the vast amounts of customer data from your different marketing tools. The second would be user segmentation. So with access to all of your customer data comes insight into the behaviors, motivations, demographics. But all of this data is redundant if you aren't identifying what makes each customer's experience with your brand unique. So definitely recommend being picky with your data. And then the final is life cycle mapping. So knowing where customers are in the buying journey, or even just in their relationships with your brand, is a way to personalize the content they receive. So yeah, remember that customers take their own paths through your life cycle. So be prepared to meet them where they are in that. And I know, Cass, something that you touched on in that example just a moment ago as well.
That's a great point. It actually is a great segue into a question, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I mispronounce this person's name, but I'm going to go with Thies Vandenherk and from Happy Horizon. And this is really interesting. Has anybody tried personalization, not based on where somebody is in the customer journey or previous behaviors, but what they know about them as a person? So in other words, giving a technical person a lot more detail because technical people like more detail. It's almost like if you do any of those kind of personality profiles, mapping your content to those different personality colors or personality types.
Yes. So I didn't do it, but I do know of this very in-depth case study that was done for Orange. Remember Orange back in the old days, the UK?
Oh, yeah.
So Orange decided to actually test the personalities, the 4 main personalities. So methodical, competitive, spontaneous, and humanistic. And using the different signals that they picked up and everything from their database, they actually broke them into those types of personalities. And it was incredibly extensive, incredibly expensive, incredibly convoluted, and all the rest of it. They did a solid test. But of course, I'm not 100% sure that the data was true, right? Because you're only using signals. And not only that, personality-wise, people are different. They can change on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis. Are they in their buying mode for business, or are they in their buying mode for consumer? So it's not always going to be concrete that way anyhow. And the one thing that they found was that the big takeaway was you cannot sell to competitors. That was it.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's it. Competitors will actually buy when and how and wherever they want to buy.
So that actually leads us nicely into another question, unless somebody else wants to hit on that one. This one is from Amber Level at Cortext, and this is a B2B question. But obviously, Amber's question is, what should effective personalization look like from a B2B point of view? They feel that there's a finer line between personalized and too far with B2B. And then my follow-up on that is from the last question. If you're going down a true ABM approach, then in theory, you could be capturing the personality type of each recipient and tailoring your email to those. That would actually probably work in a B2B setting much better than it would work for Orange, which was a large, mobile phone provider. But what about B2B? Jess, you have something? I'm sure Jess has something to say on that.
I wanted to just reread the question just to make sure. But yeah, but I can jump in for sure. Personalization on the B2B side is definitely very different to kind of what you'll do on kind of your B2C side. For us, obviously, it means sure we've got that right tone of voice and a lot of the things that we were talking about earlier. But one of the things that we have to do and be really conscious of is ensuring that we're showing each tradesperson the right type of using information that they may have given us. So at point of sign up, they'll tell us kind of what jobs and what trades they're looking for, as well as the area. But we actually have an in-house AI tool which then basically looks at previous purchasing behavior and can kind of pull out jobs that match that as well. So it's kind of like there's a ranking, and we can kind of say, okay, we know that you've had 100 jobs in, but of those, we only think you're going to buy about 10 of them, based off of kind of the types of jobs you've previously bought, the budget that you kind of put behind it. And so again, it's another like, how much data do you have and how readily available is it, as well as kind of, I'm guessing, a future question that you may have as we go on, but like using that AI piece of data, AI tool to really kind of manipulate those communications to make sure that they are relevant and you're not kind of bombarding.
Yeah, that's a really really good point, and a great way to segue into AI. So, Kath, you said that we're not going to lose our jobs from AI, but as Jess was talking to there, we do need a lot of data to drive an AI tool and to deliver that personalizations. But it sounds like if I guess I've often described email marketing as having human conversations at scale, and the data of people interacting with your email is like watching, body language, digital body language is the way I used to describe it. And it sounds like a perfect solution for AI. So I guess the question is, if I don't have AI, am I stuffed? Is AI something I should be working towards? Are there some good examples of where somebody's implemented AI like Jess and it's been game changing? You're on mute, Kath.
I think at this point in time, you're not stuffed if you don't have an AI engine, right, or a tool. That's not to say down the future you mightn't be, because if all your competitors have and you haven't, then there could be a bit of an issue there. It just means that, again, as strategists, you have to work harder. You have to work harder with the manually pulling out the data and getting it. And again, there's still great tool sets out there that can help you to achieve an effect as such, right? Which is more real-time personalization, but not necessarily using AI engine personalization. So, and that can give you, that can buy you a lot of time, actually. But I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is not just keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with our competitors or anything, but we're trying to pacify, meet our needs for our customers' needs, keep them happy, make sure that we are using their data intelligently to actually enhance their customer experience and help them along the way to make decisions. And as long as we can do that, however best we can do that, they're not going to know at the end of the day that you're using a AI tool or whether you're not, right? As long as you are giving them that sort of that experience, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the customer doesn't care what tools you use, as long as you get the job done. Faithful, what about you and what you guys are doing? Are you using AI at the moment? Are you planning on using AI?
Yeah, so I think like depending, there are different ways you can use AI, right? At the moment, depending on your ESPs or your marketing automation platform, some of this like AI engine comes packaged with the platform, right? So for instance, I've used a lot across other companies, also Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and they have their own kind of AI features, which is called Einstein, right? And this is in terms of whether it's content personalization or product recommendations or send time optimization, right? Essentially, they tap into your data or the data generated via the platform or from your website or other channels, and make recommendations, or you can do action based on that data, right? So this is more or less how, within the companies that I've worked, been able to use or rely on AI to drive some business goals, right? But you also have tools like Movable Link as an example, right? That helps tap into several data points, right? Because I think sometimes the challenge is understanding where all these data sits, and then how to process this data in a way that you can use it, right? And therefore, you have external tools like Movable Link, or external platforms like the ESPs that you have, who can already do this on your behalf, right? And make it easier for you, because sometimes it's difficult to get buy-in on the resources that you would need and the time it would take to get all these things together, right? So these kind of cuts down that process, cuts down those time. And it's not like from one day to the other it's active, but at least in a lesser time you're able to action on these data and get a return on that sooner, right? So this has been my experience.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Kind of touches on a question that Matthew had asked as well, which is, would we trust any external source for personalization decisions? And I'm a big believer in buy over build, because if somebody else has built it, that you're always going to be behind them. But you do have to make sure that it's not a black box, and you know where the data is coming from. You know what's going into that. Now, Alice, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to touch on something. You and I had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about personalization is so 2021. And in 2022, we need to be talking about individualization. Can you explain exactly what individualization is and why it matters?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with individualized marketing, it's really that next level up. So it's an advanced level of personalized marketing, and it's all about building a customer profile for each user. So think beyond personas and segments, and really get into what the individual customer needs and wants. So if you're building a personalization cake, customization and segmentation are the base layers of creating unique experiences, and then individualization is the icing on the top. So with that individualization, you're aiming to create those one-to-one relationships to appeal to the one customer you're trying to reach, rather than a broader personalized segment.
Cool. And I hope individualization comes as an ice cream as well, because I'm not a big fan of cake. All right, Andrea, what other emerging trends are you seeing at the moment in the personalization space?
I mean, I think it's just getting more sophisticated, both on the side of the marketer and on the side of the consumer, because consumers now realize that that companies have all this data. So they're getting a lot smarter in terms of waiting to purchase, to get a promo code and things like that. So it's understanding that it's not just the marketers that are getting smarter, but it's also the consumers as well. So keeping that in mind.
Yep. Very cool. Slightly different question for you, Jess and Faithful. Jess, we'll start with you. What's next? What's the next cool thing that you and your team are going to do from a personalization perspective?
Hoping none of my competitors. So we are working on basically being able to predict our homeowners, the next job a homeowner will post. So for instance, if you post not a roof, that's probably not the best example. If you post a plastering job, then it's likely your next job will be a painter job needed, for instance, and kind of being able to build that out so that we can again be more targeted and kind of try and drive the right types of jobs in the areas that we need them. So kind of leveraging the data we have on existing customers and kind of looking at, okay, what did they do next, and then overlaying that on to predict what.
Oh, I think we lost you there, Jess, right there at the end, but we definitely got the gist. And I think it's a brilliant idea. One of my favorite quick case studies is Homebase figured out that you were something like 18, or you're like 81%, you had an 81% propensity to buy a new bathroom if you went in and only bought a bag of birdseed. If the only thing you bought in the home base was a bag of birdseed, you were likely to buy a bathroom within 3 months. And it was because nobody could really walk out of the home base without buying something. And birdseed kind of, I guess, a lot of people need. I don't know. I don't have a lawn, so I don't have a need for it. Faithful, what are you doing next in personalization?
Yeah, so we're currently, or rather, we're as a company, but also personally interested in exploring the technology CDP, so like a customer data platform. And the idea essentially is to have like a unified view of our customers, right? So you have like this like single source of where you have an insight into all the data points that you have for your customers, and therefore you know what you can action on, right? And this essentially enables the team or the company on a broader level, right, to be able to say, oh, we have this information, why not we do this? Or we have this information, why not we do that, right? But this also means that because when thinking of personalization, you're not just limited to the message, you're also thinking about the channel, right? And therefore, for some customers, maybe email is the best channel to reach them, but maybe for some other customers, it's another channel, maybe mobile, right? So figuring out, okay, now we have this visibility into the data points available on our customer, but where do we then action this message? Where do we send this to, right? So this is
the place for the best next action.
Exactly. So this is what I'm looking forward to.
That sounds very cool as well. Well, I just noticed the clock, and that's all we have time for today. If you have any thoughts, comments, feedback for us, let us know in the chat. That'd be great. And please give me a please join me in giving big thanks to our sponsors. So our gold sponsors are, I'm waiting for the slide. Our gold sponsors are Iterable and OnGauge, and our silver sponsors for this series, RPE Origin and Actito. We couldn't bring this content to you without them, so thank them very much. And feel free to check out their websites and buy stuff from them. Tell them that you heard about them from email and more. Also, please join me in thanking our brilliant panelists, Faithful, Jess, Andrea, Kath, Alice. Great insight, great chat. And we got there in the end with Jess, so that was great. If we are back on June 26th, we're back yesterday, 2 days ago. We'll be back on July 26th when Adiola is going to be hosting and leading the conversation on designing for conversions in email marketing. But until then, I want to thank all of you for spending your time with us today, for joining us throughout the whole series. Again, check out the past episodes if you've missed anything. We have a lot of fun producing these, so we hope you get a lot of benefit out of them as well. And until July 26th, be safe and make good choices.